Live on YouTube.
Are we all set?
You're all set. You're all set. You're live.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome you to our live webinars. We'll start off with a bit of introductions. I hope I'll give you 5 minutes to share this on your social media spaces and just let everyone know that we're live. And we've started our webinars. So maybe share, we are using the hashtag AODN data chart and data for development. So maybe you can share that on Twitter and tag us at LDRI Africa. That's our Twitter handle. Joining us today is, I don't know if all of you can hear me clearly. We have Mola, Abdullahi, Florence, and Medica as well. I hope I'm saying your name correctly. From SDG Forum Kenya. Just a bit of introduction. LDRI is, at LDRI, we host monthly webinars. And on for this month, we are talking about SDGs, perspectives on SDG reporting. If you've been keen on our webinar sessions, you might know we had Mola speak on our last webinar series, and we are talking about the African UN Data for Development platform. It's good to have you back. Maybe we could have a round where everyone says hello. We can start with you, Mola.
Mina, I'm Mola from the African Center for Statistics. I'm a statistician. I've been with ECA for the past, how many years? 17 years. I'm working in data and related issues. I think my main focus these days are data science, innovation, technology for the production of statistics in Africa. Over, Amina.
Thank you, Mola, for that. Maybe we could go to you, Abdullahi.
Amina, sorry, I'm having problem with my video. I don't know, it's not like connecting. But
it's okay.
I am Abdullahi Hassan Kamara. I am a demographer. I work in statistics for like the past 10 years. And currently I work for as a fellow in Sierra Leone on Open Data Network. But I am working with SLENA. SLENA happens to be the Sierra Leone news agency in Sierra Leone. Over the years, I've been working with the public sector, private sector, and in other fields. I'm happy to be part of this panel to share the Sierra Leone side of it. Thank you.
Welcome. Abdullahi is our Senior Research Fellow at African Open Data Network. That's a program we run under LDRI. Florence, over to you.
Thank you very much. It's a great honor to be here this day. My name is Florence Sevo from the SDGs Kenya Forum. I'm the country coordinator, and it's a great pleasure that we are talking about SDG reporting and also how do we involve different stakeholders like civil society organizations. So I think for us today, we'll be adding our voice, and I'm here with a few of my colleagues. I see Medica, I see Leone, one of our members, very active, and many more will be joining. Thank you very much.
Thank you to Medica. Would you like to share?
Thank you very much. My name is Medica. I work with Florence. I'm here to listen more than talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Maybe Moshiri could just say hello. I'm helping Moshiri today to co-host. Maybe most of you are familiar with our webinar. You know Moshiri. My name is Amina. I run communications for LDRI. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. So it's a big thanks to Amina for stepping up into the deep end for this. Unfortunately, my voice isn't cooperating today, so she's here to save the day. So I'm excited about today's webinar, and to all of you who are live who are joining us on our webpage and on YouTube, welcome. There'll be some opportunities for engagement. Please ask your questions on Twitter. And on our live events page, there'll be some questions we'll be asking there. So please jump in and give us your thoughts. Looking forward to that. Thank you.
Yes, thank you all. For those who are participating, we've put up a question on the Slido. It says, which SDGs are you most interested in tracking? We'd love to see your responses. As the webinar continues, feel free to send your questions in there as well. As a participant, you might not be able to speak, but you can key in your questions. Okay, moving on. Mola, I hope you're able to reconnect. So we'll start with Florence. Maybe you can just share with us about the voluntary national reporting process, what it's about. Yes, you were to share. You had a presentation to share. Let me know. Yes, we can see your screen.
Thank you very much, Amina, and thank you to everyone for joining us today. And it's a great pleasure, as I said before, for us to be speaking about the voluntary national reviews. And so my first question, I've been asked to maybe take us through just in details what the voluntary national review is all about. And so I'll do that very briefly. And so, of course, the 2030 agenda defines another function for the follow-up and review process. When you talk about the 2030 agenda, most people many times only speak about the SDGs, but not the 2030 agenda on sustainable development goals that is more holistic. And with that, it has a few components, which include the follow-up review mechanism. And so this is an annual process that brings together different stakeholders from different countries at national, international level. And so it's voluntary. That's why it's called voluntary national reviews. Countries are expected to volunteer each year within the period of the 15 years of implementation. And so, of course, it's a voluntary process, and countries are encouraged to do so each and every year. And so far, we've seen a lot of countries, majority, have managed to volunteer and really just tell their stories or their process or progress in terms of SDG implementation. And so the reviews are intended to track progress in terms of implementing the 2030 agenda, which of course, as you are all aware, the SDGs have targets and indicators, and in all countries. So the whole idea is to ensure that SDGs targets, indicators in different countries, are well sort of tracked within the process of implementation, monitoring, and review, and in a manner that respects the universal integrated nature and all dimensions of sustainable development. And so, as I said before, it's good for us to just note that there are different and various dimensions of the sustainable development goals. And so this whole process of the voluntary national reviews is to ensure that we can track the different dimensions. Among the principles guiding the reviews, they must be substantive, knowledge-based, with a particular focus on the poorest, most vulnerable, and those farthest left behind. So this is to say that the reporting or the SDG implementation process has various principles. And so, for example, ensuring that we don't leave anyone behind, vulnerable groups, those that are further left behind. And so just to conclude this particular intervention, as we all know, in 2015, when the member states committed to robust, voluntary, effective, participatory, transparent, integrated follow-up framework, this meant that they were committing to the following. One, to help countries to track and assess progress in attaining the 2030 agenda. As I said, this means that for us to attain the 2030 agenda, we have to leave no one behind, and this is very key within the voluntary national reviews. One of the components is to ensure that we can showcase how we are not leaving others behind. The second one is to guide policy, planning, budgeting, and implementation. So the voluntary national review, once we get what is happening in different countries, when different countries volunteer, when different countries give sort of a review of what they are doing, it helps them in issues of policy, planning, budgeting, and implementation. As you are all aware, this is very, very critical. For us to attain SDGs, we have to have the right policies in place, we have to have the right planning, we have to have budgets in place, because without budgets, then we're not able to implement that within the goals, all the targets and indicators that we are working towards. And so this, the VNR, the Voluntary National Review, helps countries to develop better understanding of the problems and the shortcomings encountered. I think one of the critiques of the MDGs was that because it lacked a proper review mechanism, a lot of countries could not evaluate in terms of, just a deep understanding of what are the problems, shortcomings of their interventions. And so this VNR has given an opportunity to countries, and also at international level, regional level, for us to develop a better understanding, and also to make interventions in terms of whatever issues that are coming out. And then lastly, this helps, of course, in development of appropriate policy, structures, and processes that are a multi-stakeholder approach that involve different stakeholders. So, I think this is the first question, and I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Florence, for sharing with us your presentation. I need to ask Mola a follow-up question. How does Uneca support countries to improve their data systems for reporting on the SDG? Mola, if you can hear me.
Yes, thank you, Amina. Thank you for having me again. ECA is one of the 5 regional commissions for Africa. Actually, the headquarters is in Addis Ababa. We have 4 other UN regional commissions working on socioeconomic issues in their respective regions. The ECA core function are 3, actually. We have a convening function, a think tank, and what we call operational functions. So on the operational functions, we have a number of capacity building initiatives in member states, particularly as a statistics division of the UN ECA. We focus on what we call the national statistical systems. Our work actually is on both sides of the equation. One is to help our member states produce socioeconomic data for their development agenda, including the SDGs and Agenda 2063. And we are also trying to help out countries to also report on data, socioeconomic data issues, including the SDGs. Maybe a little bit of what we do as one of the international organizations or the regional organization. We strengthen the capacity of national statistical systems to produce and disseminate, mainly disaggregate data. We know, there are national data out there, but as the previous speaker said, one of the issue of leaving no one behind is producing disaggregated or granular data. So we are helping our member states on that, including gender disaggregation. We are also working on harmonizing statistical systems. I think in harmonization, there is comparability. Then countries can also see themselves against the neighboring countries and also other countries in Africa and also the rest of the world. So harmonization is also one of the area. We have a different domain also, the GIS. I think we are also helping our countries to embrace geoinformation systems. I think with the new expanded ecosystem, embracing satellite imagery, use of satellite images to produce indicators is also harvesting the power of GIS. Another one is to improve the modernization of data collection. I think we've seen from the various reporting platforms that we are helping Africa to move from the traditional way of collecting data to use of digital technologies. Not only like the usual mobile phones and tablets, but we're also using the web to collect data. I think South Africa is currently conducting censuses, and they are embracing digital technologies like tablets, as well as also the web to collect data on censuses. I think census is a key. We've been helping around 13 countries so far to move to the use of digital technology. I think speaking of census, there are 12 goals that the census can help produce SDG indicators. We are also working on CRVS, which also has a number of indicators can be drawn for SDGs. On the other part of the equation is we build dashboards, SDG dashboards. I think in my previous intervention, the last time, I talked about the 54 SDG dashboards that we produced on behalf of countries. We are expanding. That was produced from our side, from the global data we store as part of the UN system. But now we are working, moving to countries to help them to produce, to own these platforms and report on SDGs. So we have identified around 5 countries in the various 5 regions, so that we can build SDG reporting platforms. I think there are also other players like the African Development Bank, the United Nations Statistics Division, and other players. They are helping also countries to produce SDG reporting platforms. So this is one of the area we are, with this actually, in terms of reporting, we cannot just talk of reporting without mentioning SDMX, the Statistical Data and Metadata Exchange Initiative. So we are also helping out countries to embrace SDMX in their reporting and also disseminating any socioeconomic data they produce. I think I better stop here, and I would like to hear from the audience if there are any questions on this.
Maybe Mola, you can share with us the 5 countries you're working with on the data platforms.
Okay. We have, we usually try to spread to the 5 regions. we have the north, Algeria is selected. In Central Africa, Equatorial Guinea is a candidate. In Central Africa, Ethiopia is one of the countries to be piloted. When it goes to the south, Zimbabwe is, I think, what was the other? West Africa, the Gambia is one of the countries. I think, did I miss any country? But I will come back to you, like to list out the 5 countries. But we've identified, actually selected countries based on the geographic representation on the continent. And a mix of also languages, French and English and Arabic. Yeah.
I don't know what Abdullah thinks. I was waiting to see if Sierra Leone is on that list. Maybe over to you, Abdullah. You can tell us what you think about the capacity needed in the public sector in order to have the right data for reporting on SDG. Is what Mola has mentioned a few key areas that an institution like Uneca is working on. According to you, what do you think? What are your observations so far? What could have been added? What needs to be added? Over to you, Abdullah.
Thank you very much, Amina. You know, I was also waiting. I thought Mola will mention Sierra Leone.
Yes.
All right. Let me just start with introducing how our coordinating network looks like in Sierra Leone. Back in Sierra Leone here, we have the Ministry of Development and Economic Planning. It's a setup to coordinate all data from ministry, department, and agency and reports on the SDGs. So in that office, we have like a coordinator, a national coordinator that is seated there, and we have staff that are assigned to all public institutions to liaise with them and collect data. The data that is being collected is aligned. We have the medium-term national development plan of the country, which is from 2019 to 2023. The national development plan is aligned with the SDGs. So staff are assigned clusters. We have 8 clusters in the medium-term national development plan. Those 8 clusters are aligned with the SDGs, so staff are assigned to MDAs to collect data. But apparently, you know, they've been collecting this data, and the rigors, the issues they are having collecting the data, is enormous, you know. And the key among the problems they are having is still going in most of the MDAs traditional. With the coming of this current government, we had a directorate of science and technology and innovation that was set up. It was called the DSTI. But we had the pioneer who was coming from MTI, and he had this notion of coming with it. But apparently it was transferred and made Minister of Education. So the institution that was set up like to train staff in MBAs on how to collect data in real time and they disseminate repository data, the pioneer is no longer there. So apparently you see that a problem are set up there. But key among the team, even the coordinating office, that's the Ministry of Development and Economic Planning, you can't believe that, they don't even have a portal and reporting SDGs. So it becomes so challenging for even them, collecting the data. Because myself and my colleague going to this MDS to collect data, you see, you find the bureaucracy is too much. Bureaucracy, because you will have to write. So you say a challenge and having resource evidence. As a researcher, a statistician, you go to an institution, the information you want to see is of real time. But you go to these institutions and they'll say, we'll have this in paper. And you want to see the source of this data. And these are the challenges we are having. So it takes you time to get the data, and maybe you have it in the paper form, then you have to input it. If you have to input it, then you have to validate it again with them, because you don't know whether what you are inputting is the real thing. So like, I mean, even when you report in, you input, you call them on a validation to validate the data. So we're having issues on doing this thing the same old way in many institutions. And the other problem we're having is that of having trained staff in data collection and analysis. We have the NSO here, that's the National Statistical Office, that is collecting data. Before now, we had staff assigned from that office to MDs, some MDs. But apparently with the coming of the DSTI, it was thought that, I mean, the DSTI will train staff within the MDs to carry out these activities. Yet it is going at a snail pace, you know, because it seems like, I mean, it's not like, I mean, happening per se. But yet, credits to the Ministry of Development and Economic Planning, they've been trying in reporting on the SDGs, because they go, they collect hard copies, come type them in Excel formats, and they do the reporting. For them also, you know, if they're reporting, they don't have a portal. And the packages they use in the software they're using, they're just using Excel. You know, they don't have software to use, so that, I mean, they report on the SDGs in real time. These are some of the problems, the issues, I will not call them problems, these are the issues we are having in collecting, analyzing, and reporting data on SDGs. Amina?
Thank you, Abdullahi, for sharing with us your observations. I am so sure Mola is taking notes of some of those needs, and like you mentioned, how you have challenges with people still using the traditional ways of inputting and documenting data. I'm so sure Mola, after this, will add you to the list. We are hoping he will add Sierra Leone to the countries. Yes, Mola, were you speaking?
Okay. If I may say, actually, I would like to give a regional picture of how African countries are performing in terms of SDG. It's not unique to Sierra Leone, by the way. When we look at the African countries, I had actually a bit of analysis which I did a couple of months ago. We have 231 indicators in SDGs, unique indicators. You know, people say like 247, but some of the indicators are repeated across targets and goals. So in my analysis, I always cite 231 unique indicators. So out of that, I think there are the maximum indicators a country has is around 76% of the indicators, which is about 180 plus indicators, which is South Africa, Cote d'Ivoire, Uganda, Ghana, and these are the countries actually having data for many of the SDGs in Africa. They are also challenged countries. I think looking at Sierra Leone, I'm just referring my, I'm really looking at Sierra Leone. I'm trying to find where Sierra Leone is. By the way, I'm working, okay. Sierra Leone has 163 indicators out of 100, from 231 indicators so far, as we speak now. So you are pretty much in the middle. But you know, when we say when we talk of 231, but there are some indicators which are not really, which I call them actually binary indicators, like an indicator which talks about proportion of countries with system to track and make public allocation for gender equality and empowerment. This is a policy decision, either yes or no. This is not something that you are going to implement a statistical tool to measure on a regular basis. Like there is an indicator which says under goal 16, existence of independent national human rights institutions, either a human rights institution or not. These are some of the binary indicators. There are about 7 of them. So you can remove these indicators from the list. Another also regional picture I have is there are 27 indicators out of 231 where there is no African country reported data for. So 27 indicators of them. When we look at all the 54 countries, we are really worried about the whole 54 countries. There are only 76 indicators that all African countries are reporting. So you can see only a third of the indicators are all our African countries. We want all African countries to report to the 231, but that is not actually true. There are indicators, for instance, talking about sea, oceans, which we have, I think, around 10 plus countries which are landlocked, may not really need to report on those indicators. So actually, in terms of reporting and judging whether countries are reporting to the 231, they have to be looked at individually. So this is what I just wanted to add on. Amina, over to you.
Okay, thank you for that. Maybe we could hear from Florence. I think Mola and Abdullahi have painted a picture for us on how on a regional level and on Abdullahi's case, his experience with the MDAs. Maybe Florence, you could speak to how SDG Kenya Forum is helping in mobilizing the civil society in contributing to the voluntary national report.
Thanks, Amina, and also all the previous speakers. It's always good to hear more about other countries and what's happening in the region, because the peer-to-peer learning is quite important. So maybe just to give a snapshot of Kenya, I'll start off with maybe just the background for Kenya and then how civil society is organized, if that's fine. And so Kenya follows all of government and society approach in the SDG implementation, monitoring, and review. This means that there's an agreement to ensure that VNR is not approached only from a government perspective, but also civil society, private sector, academia, legislature, the sub-national governments are all, involved, and they can contribute, in terms of what they are involved in within the VNR processes. And so this, as Kenya has been commended for this, and it's good that we as civil society organizations, we can attest to the fact that we've been involved in the process. Of course, the process is not rosy. I'll speak about that later on, but it's a good move. And also to say that Kenya has volunteered twice in 2017 and in 2020. And so we have 2 voluntary national reviews for Kenya. And you can find them on the websites, both the government websites, our website, and civil society organizations. Medical will be sharing the link to our website. You can find the civil society reports, but also the government reports. And also one of the agreements we agreed, apart from the voluntary national reviews, which again, we can't predict when the government will agree to volunteer. We internally, as part of the agency technical committee, the steering body for SDGs, to have a biannual reporting system. That's the 2-year process whereby every 2 years, with VNR or without, we come together and we ensure that we can speak or we can report, have an internal national report. And so we've been doing that. And so the first one after the 2017 was in 2019. Hopefully this year we are meant to have a biennial report as Kenya. It was the July high-level political forum. And again, something else that is very positive within the VNR process in Kenya. In March 2020, Kenya institutionalized stakeholder engagement through a multi-stakeholder framework. And so Kenya has a multi-stakeholder framework that stipulates the role of different stakeholders and what they are meant to do within the VNR process, but also the larger SDG engagement. And so this has been helpful in terms of the whole of society, all of government approach. And also one of the things that we've done is once we are doing the VNR, like VNR 2017 and 2020, as earlier mentioned, when private sector, when civil society bring our reports, we've agreed or we've negotiated for the government of Kenya to annex independently the reports of civil society, private sector, and the other sectors that bring reports. For us, this has been a big win. I say this because a lot of times, as you are aware, a lot of countries, especially in Africa, do not include a lot of the things that civil society are championing or working for. And so this has been a good practice to ensure that our reports can be found within the Kenyan VNR independently annexed. And you can find exactly what the civil society are talking about and what, the issues they raised without being censored. But the general practice is that particular report, again, is utilized by the government. They pick some sections and they integrate these different sector reports into the main VNR. But as I said, it's not 100%, and so that's why we have the annexes. And also the last thing to mention about the VNR in Kenya, we've also had the voluntary local reviews, the VLR. These are the ones that target the sub-counties, sub-national governments, and in Kenya, it's the county governments. And so I think so far we have had 6 counties engaged in the VLR, and these are Kwale, Marsabit, Busia, Taita Taveta, Makueni, and Kisumu. Yeah, so I think that's just a background of how Kenya has engaged. It was important for me to say that. So just quickly getting into how civil society has organized in a few minutes is for us, we've always began by mobilizing. We have our members, and one of the key mandates of the SDG forum, being a society-led forum, is we are the conveners of SDG reporting, the VNR for civil society. And that's an official mandate that has been given to us through the Interagency Technical Working Committee role that we are engaged in at national level. And so one of the things we do, once the reporting guidelines are out, we bring together our members and encourage them and sort of take them through the reporting guidelines for them to understand if you're doing the VNR, what is expected of them, what are the guidelines, what if they are contributing, what is needed, or what template are we using. So we've always developed our own template as civil society, but also given guidelines aligned to the national guidelines or the VNR guidelines at international level, because that's how it's done. You sort of tailor the international guidelines to the national context. And so we've been doing that also in the civil society context. After that, once we take through our members and we mobilize them, we put them into the goal groups. And so the SDG Forum has 17 goal groups from SDG 1 to SDG 17. And so within these SDG goal groups from SDG 1 to 17, we have the leads, and also we have convenings. They sort of come together. For example, LDRI has always convened SDG 2. And so just bringing fellow members together, working on SDG 2, filling up the templates and submitting to us officially what this particular goal group is able to mobilize or is able to get from the different members. And so we get like 17 reports from the 17 goal groups with a list of those members that have contributed. And what happens then for us, we have a central point of consolidation. And we do this as a secretariat, but also engaging consultants and some of the members of the forum who are involved on issues of data work, and then so they're able to give us that kind of support to consolidate the VNR report for civil society. And so once we are done, we circulate the report to fellow members for them to just affirm as goal groups, and also to if there's something missing or there is some reviews that are required, we have that internal process. And then later on, once the report is well done, we submit it officially to the SDGs unit, government SDG units, because their role is to consolidate input from all the different stakeholders. And so for us, that's what that's the process that we've been following. And we've been, of course, every VNR process, we always come up with a few new rules to better the process. And so maybe in my last intervention, when I come back, I'll be able to speak about some of the challenges that we've faced and how we've been engaged. So maybe if you allow me to stop there, then I'll maybe during my last intervention, I'll be able to speak about how the effective reporting by civil society and some of the challenges we face. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Florence, for that breakdown. Maybe Mola could add on and share with us if there is opportunity for non-state actors to engage with the data platforms. Just following up on what Florence has shared and how SDG Kenya Forum is helping civil society on the reporting, and what is a platform like Uneca? Is there opportunities for non-state actors like civil societies to engage?
Absolutely, Amina. Partnership, I think we need to underline, like, partnership is critical here. And speaking of the national statistical system, we used to focus on government departments and agencies only report, those institutions under the government. Now with the expanded data ecosystem, we cannot produce data without the help of the private institutions. We need to also bring the academia for skill, capacity building, and also research. Actually, speaking of the private sector, I think it's not the technology is also coming from the private sector. Innovation. I think if you look at the big companies, they are actually leading in terms of data science. So data science, not only the technology side, but also they are also becoming the main data sources, especially for big data like social media, satellite imagery. We can only find this data, actually comprehensive data, from these private companies. We need also to collaborate with this private company in terms of training and skill building. So the playing field is wide open, and we cannot also do it alone as a regional organization, as ECA, and also when we expand it to the other UN systems, like UN agencies, programs, funds. So we need really to partner and also open up with the other non-state actors. The other issue when speaking of the data platform, we have the UN, the Africa UN data platform, which was launched late last year, and it has a number of data areas, SDGs, Agenda 2063, and key socioeconomic data, and also bringing the UN data stores, warehouses. One thing is that, as I said before, we need to explore big data and other data sources. We need to leverage the technology and innovation. And the other is also, we want to expose our data for other organizations, other players, so that they can also build data products. So we are building now these days APIs to the data platform, so that we are not restricting that we only produce data products ourselves, but other can hook to our data platforms and produce and other data products. So as I think you've heard of the open data, I think Muchiri is one of the pioneers of open data initiatives in Africa, so he knows all well. So with the open data initiative, we are exposing our data so that other non-state actors can consume and produce data products. Over to you.
Thank you, Mola, for that. Maybe just a quick follow-up question. Are there mechanisms already incorporated at the continental level to incorporate civil society or citizen-generated data in tracking the progress for SDGs?
Our platform is, we have what we call the continental platform, called the Statistical Commission for Africa. The membership, there is membership always, because as a UN entity, we are the members, the member states are the members actually. But we have observers, like the civil societies are observers in that fora. They have the platform to speak to statistical issues on the continent. We have the academia, we have the young statisticians who are members of that platform. So civil society are actually represented in that statistical, but in our also workshops, other forums, other engagements, we always bring civil society, the media, not only the civil society, the media, the young statistician and other actors, including the private sector, to be part of the conversation on data issues. So there is a platform to embrace all those non-state actors.
Okay, thank you for that. Over to you, Abdullahi. Maybe you could tell us about your experience with CSO engagements in regards to SDG reporting in Sierra Leone.
Thank you, Amina. I saw that you didn't see that I went out. Yeah, I'm back. The civil society in Sierra Leone has been playing a great role in the SDG reporting. Interestingly, they've been part of government, in like what the Ministry of Development and Economic Planning is doing. They are brought on board, they are part and parcel, especially in the area of public mobilization, in the area of disseminating information to people. In fact, they have like an umbrella body that is called the Volunteer Involving Organization Network, VioNet. Since 2015, they've been working on the SDG data reporting with government, and they've been key in the VNR. And you see that, if you go to their websites, most times you see what they put up there, and the government uses that, to include in what they are reporting. I remember talking yesterday with the development secretary in the Ministry of Development. For Sierra Leone, in the 2022 VNR, they say they want to do a local one, the VLR, as Florence mentioned what they're doing in Kenya. So they want to go this one. Many people don't know exactly what the SDG are and what they are reporting on. So for this year, they want to go local, go right down there so that, counterpart down there know exactly what they are doing. And this cannot be done without the involvement of civil society. So they've started working with the civil society towards that, and they've gone that far. And if you look again, the Right to Information RAC that was commissioned, that was created in Sierra Leone in 2013, it was civil society driven, and we had that one, so make data available to all and sundry. So, it's civil society driven, and we see the people are appreciating it so much. And that's the same thing that working on in the network to see how people know society involvement. Of course, they are key. They are not left behind. They have an organization, an umbrella one that brings them when discussions are being held on reporting on the SDGs. Amina?
Thank you, Abdullahi, for sharing. On to my last question. I'd like Florence to share with us some of the emerging outcomes from your work in respect to SDG reporting. What have you observed so far? In respect of time, maybe you could share in 5 minutes. Florence.
Thank you very much, Amina. Yes, and so I'll just be brief. So for us, as just maybe earlier mentioned, the process has been very, very intense, but very also, it's created awareness for us in terms of how then do we organize as civil society organizations. It's been good also to learn from other countries and also maybe just pick some of the interventions or ways of working that other countries have been engaging in, and also utilizing such kind of processes for our own process here in Kenya. And so just to continue with my earlier interventions, I'd say that maybe right now, one of the things that I'd want to just quickly highlight is one, issues of effective reporting on by civil society. So this is one thing that we've realized as a forum, that we need to sort of just well understand how then do we nail effective reporting for civil society, so that our interventions can be well within what we want to achieve in terms of the contributions. And so one of the things is highlighting sectors or areas of the leave no one behind. I like just to emphasize on this particular point because civil society organizations play a critical role in terms of being, the liaison between ourselves and communities. And so how do we ensure that our reports, how do we ensure that our interventions as civil society organizations can well highlight that? And so within our report, this is one of the areas that we've really been focusing on. If you read our reports, you'll find articulate areas on how communities or how civil society organizations have been intervening. And so this has been very, very, it's been a good investment by civil society organizations, bringing this particular engagement within the VNRs. The second thing, we've been able to provide statistics or data for research in different areas of interest. I say this because, as you all know, NSOs, National Statistical Offices, many times are very limited in terms of the data they produce, the engagements that they engage in, of course, dependent on the issues of resources that are available. And so within civil society reports, you'll find areas of research that CSOs have undertaken, and we've been able to showcase, some new areas of research, things that have not been taken up in the mainstream of government. And so this has been a great plus. And then again, also the issues of factual and unbiased reporting, whereby many times civil society will always highlight facts and also unbiased reporting to ensure that it's not about painting, a good picture about a country, because this within the VNR, we've seen many times at global level, at regional level, sometimes it's a competition among countries to showcase how well they are organized or how well, they are managing some of the work. And so it's been, civil society voices have been very critical to show the facts and also unbiased reporting. And then again, also the issues of complementary and contrasting in reporting, whereby just complementing what some of the government interventions, but also where there are issues of, that need to be, for us to just offer a contradiction or just contrasting reporting. We've been doing that. And also the issues of following up after the VNR. This is one thing that we've been playing a critical role, advocating for uptake of recommendations that civil society organizations have been involved in, and ensuring that it's not just about the reporting, but what happens after the reporting. So this is a critical conversation that civil society organizations have played. and then also the issues of common interests, cluster reporting, thematic areas. And so you'll find a lot of civil society organizations who have specialized in thematic areas, if it's on gender, if it's on issues of health, if it's on issues of food or security and so forth. And so this has really been helpful to ensure that the holistic picture of civil society organizations is told. And so I think very lastly, I'll speak very quickly about some of the challenges, and some of the challenges we've experienced, of course, is lack of current and updated data. So within our data and statistical process in Kenya, as many other countries, there's a lack of updated data. And then again, some of the SDG indicators under Tier 3 until today, of course, do not have an agreed methodology. And that means a lot of the work sometimes under civil society can fall under those tiers. And so, apart from just maybe telling the narratives, then there's nothing much that it can't be considered as official data or statistics. And so, again, the issue of a lot of civil society organizations, whatever data they produce is still considered as non-official statistics. And so this is something that we are working with the NSO right here in Kenya to try and come up with just processes that can adapt official statistics that comes from civil society. And this is a process that has seen some good investments, and hopefully very soon we'll be able to complete that. And so there's a lot more in terms of issues of funding, of non-state actors, in terms of monitoring activities. There are gaps in terms of just the VNR process, monitoring within organizations where organizations lack inadequate funding. We also have serious capacity gaps among civil society in terms of just aligning action and reporting. And so we've realized that there's need for capacity building among civil society organizations, but also among different stakeholders to understand the process, but also to value the process and be involved. And so for us, our role has been to mobilize, to build capacity, and also to convene and ensure that civil society voices are well heard within the VNR process. So I think I'll stop there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Florence, for sharing. Maybe I can give Moshiri a chance to share with us the feedback from our question earlier on.
Thank you, Amina. Not a lot of SDGs made it onto the Slido poll. Maybe by virtue of those who decided to bare their souls and tell us which goal they would like, they're excited about tracking. So we had a vote each for goal 2, goal 4, goal 12, goal 5, and goal 1. So other than goal 12, the others are the goal 1 to 5 goals that we always consider where a long-term effort has been, but it was interesting to see, someone go in and put in goal 12, which is sustainable production and consumption. So so hopefully we'll do a whole lot more of this soon, and get to hear from people, what kind of insights they're seeing, what kind of insights they're generating, what kind of traction in terms of getting action to happen around those goals that they're seeing because of the kind of data that's available. So yeah, that's our Slido for today.
Okay, thank you, Moshiri, for that. Are there any questions before we wrap up?
Well, no questions from my end. And I didn't see any on Twitter. The Twitter streets are listening, but
Yes.
nothing from there. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. Maybe to our panelists, you can share one last word or a parting shot in regards to recommendations on SDG reporting. I think I'll start with Abdullah.
Yes, I want to talk on the data side. It's good that we are doing the in African Open Data Network, like the work we are doing, we are identifying the gaps with the public sector, so that they know exactly where we are lacking and what needs to be done moving forward. Also, it's good. We talk about official statistics. Like I mentioned earlier, people will come give you a document and you ask for the data source. And for us, talking on official statistics, you can't just share something globally when the source is not authenticated. So it's another good area that I think we'll have to talk to public sector to know that, you just don't share data like that. It has to be evidence-based. Moving forward, I think it could be good if like Uneca could have a Sierra Leone. As you know, Sierra Leone is working on the CRVS. And we want to have it as a baby to use it even for, and of course, I know Uneca have been helping, through the EU and other things. But it would be good if we can have intervention in terms of training of staff, especially in collecting information on vital events, and reporting. That could be very, very good for us. With those such words, I want to say thank you very much and have a pleasant day.
Thank you, Abdullah, and thank you for sharing your feedback as well. Mola, one parting shot.
Okay, thank you, Amina. I would like to also say, in terms of data reporting, there are technologies out there, platforms, data platforms developed by the various institutions, open source tools out there, so that which will help countries to report and disseminate the SDGs, not only SDGs, other socioeconomic data. So it's good to avoid reinventing the wheel. I think that's what I would say. And the other one is to focus on SDMX. SDMX is a huge potential. I think Abdullah was saying capturing from paper, using Excel and all that. But if you have data on SDMX, you can share it many times. You only enter it once. So this is something that I would recommend. But generally, I think there are three critical issues. Modernizing the statistical system is very critical. The use of innovation, especially data science tools like AI and machine learning and new data sources, embracing those will help also produce SDGs. Reporting SDGs without the data doesn't really say much, but you need to have the data first produced in member state. The other one, as I said before, partnership, because there is hardly anything that we can do it alone these days. We need the private sector, we need the civil society, we need the academia, we need other partners to help us produce data. The other one is technology, as I said, digital technology, ICT technology, the web. We need to embrace that, which not only, it looks expensive at the outset, but eventually it will reduce cost, improve efficiency, quality, and timeliness. We have so many initiatives in ECA along those lines. Please reach out to us so that we can include you in the training, in the capacity building, and also partner in the research work we're doing for the continent. Over to you, Amina. Thank you.
Thank you, Mola. I think Abdullah has really championed Sierra Leone. Maybe you can add them at the top of the list. You're muted, Mola. We can't hear you.
Abdullah, we are currently working with Statistics Sierra Leone. I have been there like in late last year to help Statistics Sierra Leone to undertake censuses. We have developed a number of tools that help Sierra Leone to use for the census taking. So we are open. Please reach out to us. We can work together. We can share what we have. And we can also reach out, help you reach out other partners.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Florence, one parting shot.
Thanks. I just wanted to pass it on to my colleague. He was supposed to be here with us, Festus. Festus, maybe you could. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much, everyone. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, thank you so much. I a bit joined late because I was engaged in another activity, but I appreciate the process and this engagement, especially pertaining to SDGs implementation. And I think just as Florence has mentioned, the number of advancements within the Kenyan space and contributions that the CSOs are actually given towards ensuring that the data gap is closed. I think she's mentioned issues around citizen-generated data, and I wanted to reiterate that in partnership with the government, in this case, the National Statistical Office, we are advancing the development of the Kenya Statistical Quality Assurance Framework. And I think every non-state actors is going to tap into that opportunity to see that some of the data gaps that are even existing within the SDG space are actually filled. And that complementarity aspect is also brought forth. And I think in terms of SDGs reporting, there have been tremendous advancements. Previously, different organizations have been reporting at target level, but now that reporting has gone to indicator level. And I think we are appreciating the space of metadata and how we can actually utilize that resource to effectively report. Thank you so much for this engagement.
Thank you, Festus. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all of our panelists for making time to be with us this afternoon. We are 5 minutes past our 1 hour duration, but just to summarize, I think partnership, technology, and capacity building have come out strongly as key recommendation areas. Thank you also for our audiences for engaging. We hope to see you soon in our next monthly webinars. Maybe you could follow us on our platforms to keep engaged with our work. Thank you all for making time. See you.